Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I am making my very first diorama. Now I have never made a diorama before in my life, and I have to admit that I winged most of this process, but I hope you enjoy watching it anyway. I started off with this caravan shaped bird box. I took out the little dowel where the bird would sit on the door, but you could buy any house shape. I was just going with a holiday theme. Here my wonderful assistant Andy is showing you how we used lollipop sticks, or what are they in America, popsicle sticks, to decorate the sides of our caravan, purely because we could have used clay, but just to save on materials, lollipop sticks are like pretty cheap to buy, so we decided to give the caravan an oldie worldy feel using those instead. Andy did try to attempt to show you that he had numbered all the pieces and knew exactly where everything went, but then went on to glue them in completely different places. Here I'm using 1mm balsa wood. Just be careful, this stuff is pretty flimsy and does break, but I kind of wanted to go with a reasonably roughish finish, so any pieces that I did break kind of looked right at the end. Here I'm making the armature for my spooky tree. Here I'm using 20 gauge wire. I think I had 19 strands. Just literally twisted them up together, pulled them apart at the top to create separate branches. It was really quite a simple process. Just be careful because the wire can be sharp where you cut it. I did end up having to use a tea towel at the bottom just to try and twist it round safely. I use just your standard kitchen foil to bulk out the base of the tree. You might notice that I haven't put in place like a root system for the tree, and that's because later on I'll add them when the tree is actually attached to the diorama. Here I am making the armature for my ghost clothes. Now this I thought was a pretty cool concept. Ghosts on holiday might not be wearing their ghosty sheets, so they're going to be sat in their bathing suits and chilling. So yeah, I'm going to create the armature using tin foil again, and then I will use cosclay to sculpt the swimsuits. I have to admit, cosclay is a really cool medium. After it's baked, it kind of remains flexible, so it's quite easy to manipulate. So I decided to make the haunted clothes and then take the armature out afterwards, leaving kind of like a hollow shell. It was a cool concept, and on top of that, it was a great chance to explore this medium. It's kind of hard to get hold of here in the UK. I'm pretty sure it's hard to get hold of anywhere at the minute, but if you can get hold of some, I strongly suggest that you give it a go. making the spooky tree, I used my usual medium of Super Sculpey for the base, but when it came to the tips of the branches, I did use cosclay. Where they're more delicate and more likely to break, I figured that that would be the best medium to use. I am making the caravan windows out of my UV resin. Just as a pre-warner, I have put a counter for the amount of times in this project that I really should have worn gloves. So don't be like me, put your gloves on before you do this. I am in fact going to go and buy some gloves before I start my next project. To make the window frame, I'm using Super Sculpey. To attach it to the wood so that it stays secure after baking, I'm using like a liquid clay called Bacon Bond. I will leave a link in the description to all of these items so that if you do want to make your own, you can purchase those items there. make the little lantern on the front of the caravan, I am using Fimo Effects glow in the dark clay. Just made a little cube and then baked that up. I'm just doing a terrible job of trying to show you that it glows in the dark. To make the tyres on the caravan, I am using black fimo clay. I didn't put too much effort into how they looked because I knew that I would be covering up the majority of them using sceneries, plants, all that sort of thing at the end of the diorama. I just sort of gave them a general tyre texture and then baked it. Here I'm making a polymer clay deck chair. If I was to do this diorama again, I would probably have tried to make it out of wood as opposed to polymer clay, purely because wood's a little bit more stable. But this did work, but I did have to go on, once it had finished baking and stuff like that, to put a little bit of Milliput at the back of the deck chair just to support it, because it was a little bit top heavy. After making my little polymer clay book, I wanted to give the illusion that the ghost lady that sat in the chair is actually reading the book. So to do that, I attached the book itself to the edge of the table that will be sat next door to her. After baking, I did realise that the book was a little bit too flat, so I cut the top piece of floral wire and rotated the book so it was more forward facing. Now it's time to make all the little elements to my diorama, so you know, all the little things that I would like to finish off the story or the scenery of my piece. So I am using my super sculpey to make headstones, pumpkins, little things to put on the table, just to give the piece a little bit more character. I needed to find a way to hide the battery pack for the red LED that's going in the caravan. So to do that, I used my balsa wood to cut a coffin shape, and then covered that in my super sculpey. And then I sort of propped it up against the caravan when it was finished, and it did a really good job of hiding the battery pack and looking part of the scene. I was struggling with the placement of like the male ghost. I didn't really know what to do with him. You know, I'd given the female ghost like the chair and the book, and she looked like she was chilling and relaxing, but I didn't really know what to do with the male ghost. In the end, I decided to make it look like he was hanging fairy lights from the creepy tree. You know, I came up with the idea that they might be ghosts, but why would they not want it to still be pretty? They're on holiday. Somehow I managed to acquire like loads of these melamine boards, similar to the one that I actually used to sculpt under, the white one underneath this one. So I decided to use one of them as a base. Here I'm just attaching like foil to create mounds and hills where I want them, and then I'm using air dry clay, Daz air dry clay I think it is, just in stone colour, although I do go on to paint it. Finally, we are on to paint. I'm using my usual Arteza acrylic paints for the majority of this project. There are a couple of other paints. I think my black and my white are by a different brand. I can't remember but on a general, it's the Arteza. I have seen so many of these spare wheel covers that are covered in like wolf sceneries, so I thought I would do exactly the same thing. I would just do a haunted version. So now I have this pretty cool skeleton wolf howling on my cover. obviously my ghost reading material needed to be of ghostly origin, so I couldn't help myself and I made the Necronomicon the best I could on such a small scale. Maybe one of these days I will learn how to paint on like teeny tiny surfaces. After I attached my tree to the base, I needed to find a way to make all the roots. So I decided to use my Milliput, which is a epoxy putty. You just mix the two parts together, wait about half an hour, then you can roll them out into whatever shape you want. I made like cone shaped snakes and then attached them to the tree that way. is where I decided to make my own flock because I am cheap and I did not want to go down to the hobby shop and spend an absolute fortune on fake grass. So to make this, I literally mixed a load of dry herbs together and some wood chippings. I sort of blended it down so that it was really, really fine, and then added like acrylic paint, a little bit of water. I did try mixing it with a paintbrush and that really didn't work, so I really had to get my hands in there. So, top tip, wear gloves. To make the vines on the tree, I am using some cross-stitch threads, just some green cross-stitch thread, and dipping it in some Mod Podge, and of course I'm not wearing gloves again, so I did get covered in the glue, but it does look really cool afterwards. So in order to make the male ghost look like he quote unquote floats, I cut a piece of 10 gauge wire. I did find that my Gorilla Glue really doesn't stick to cosclay very well, even after it's painted, so I ended up using UV resin to attach the wire to the inside of his trouser legs. After getting my two ghosts situated in their little homes or their spots on the diorama, it's just a case of gluing down all of the other little bits and bobs that I'd made. To get my homemade Herbie flock to stick, I used just like a generous helping of Mod Podge and then sort of scattered the herbs, which I have to say smelled really, really nice, over the sculpture, and then once it had dried the next day, I just sort of hoovered up the excess. To hide all of the wires that I didn't want people to see, so like the wire that's in the ghost's leg and also the wire that's going underneath the caravan, I just glued down some decorative moss and made it kind of look like bushes. To make the swamp shoreline, I am using my UV resin again, once again without gloves. I'm just adding a little bit of black dye to the resin, and then I added some like Starry Night glitter, which has like some dark granules in it. But because I added so much black, it did take quite a while for the UV resin to cure. So if you want to avoid that, then perhaps don't use so much black. And that's it, my haunted holiday home diorama is complete. I hope you enjoyed watching this. If you are still here, you are a legend, because that was really quite a long one. I thoroughly enjoyed making it. All the little elements were really fun to craft. So, you know, if you like it, then drop me a like. If you would like to comment, then drop me a comment in the comments box. I'd love to know what you think. And I guess I will see you in the next one, guys. I will catch you later. Bye!